Hey everyone, Jarek here. I have Max with me.
Hey.
So we're walking over to Dairy Queen, and you know, I felt like eating Dairy Queen, and the thought never occurred to me that like you have no clue what Dairy Queen even really is.
I thought it was like an ice cream place.
Well, I mean it is. It has a lot of desserts, but they make good burgers too. I actually really like Dairy Queen's burgers. It's funny because they're not really a diner, but they're not fast food. They're kind of like right in between. But yeah, the thought just never occurred to me that I guess Dairy Queen isn't out of America, which maybe Canada has it, I'm not entirely sure, but you don't really see it around that much. This one particularly is in a really weird spot. As you can tell, we're just walking through neighborhoods and then you come across a random ass Dairy Queen. It is particularly amusing to me that the further away from 82nd you go, the nicer it gets. We just crossed Woodstock Road, and if you go down Woodstock, it's actually a pretty nice neighborhood. And really, you only have to go like 5 blocks off 82nd, and then suddenly there's less bums, there's less crazy people, there's less hookers. Like, 82nd's not the ghetto, but man, it attracts some of 82nd's finest. Okay, so you've lived here for what, like a month now at this point?
A little over a month, yeah.
So at this point I can say you're probably a little more accustomed to everything going on around you.
Still a lot of weird shit here.
So is everything you heard about Portland for the most part right?
I didn't really hear that much. I tend to keep away from most things, but yeah, I heard Portland's weird, and sure is weird.
Something still amuses me that I've told you a million times that beer is huge here, and I don't know if people just don't think about it or they ignore it, and they're like, whatever, people drink where I'm from all the time too, but I don't think they realize how much people drink here, like to that extent.
Well, they don't drink like the British, but they do have a lot better beer here. They're actually quality beer.
But it was more of the... Okay, so that's probably something I should explain a little bit. It's a little stranger here because everything involves beer, as you said the other night. Like, every event will involve beer in one way or another. Like, you came to me as like, everything involves beer. There's a dog cleaning thing. Come clean your dog and drink beer. Like, everything.
I noticed that I was checking through Yelp events, and everything had beer in it, and I don't mind that. I like beer.
People here are kind of picky with beer. Like, there's so much craft beer just everywhere. I love the city, but occasionally it's like, man, I must live in the wrong city. I'm not into alcohol. I'm not into pot. Why do I live here? Max pointed out I'm not a hipster either, but at the same time, Portland really doesn't have that many hipsters. You see them all around Hawthorne, but there's like secluded pockets of extreme hipsterism. And I mean, yeah, within those pockets you see a ton of them, but outside of that it's just kind of middle class everything, and it doesn't really stand out as being hipster or anything. As I said, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, this really is the weirdest place to have a Dairy Queen. It's just in the middle of a neighborhood. There's no other businesses. It's just here. So as usual, I get the flamethrower burger, and this weirdo over here
Mushrooms!
gets that disgusting mushroom burger. I don't understand how you like mushrooms. They have the texture of snot. They're so disgusting.
Texture of mushrooms.
It's the same thing. So of course, before we leave, I have to get a Blizzard. It's like Oreo and it's filled with fudge. You didn't want one though.
I'm too full.
It's just, this is so tiny.
I've been over-burgered.
Over-burgered?
Over-burgered.
Maybe it's all those mushrooms. You had one bite and you just needed to throw up because they're so gross.
No, great.
I don't know how people like mushrooms. I'm one of those texture people where if I don't like the texture of something, I just won't eat it. That's why I don't like octopus, because it's like,
I like them.
It doesn't taste bad. It's just, it's like you're eating rubber. No. I don't like the texture.
I haven't tried that.
I don't like fried food either for the same reason. I don't like anything fried.
Destroy my food and it tastes amazing.
That's like when we went to a sushi place. Of all places to have this, a sushi place had deep fried cheesecake. And why a sushi place to have that? I don't get it.
They also had deep fried chicken.
Not that place.
Oh,
it's another sushi place.
Oh.
Yeah, if I just say a sushi place, that could mean so many different places here. But it's really weird because the outside of it has that fried, like, crusty layer, and then it just oozes on the inside. It wasn't bad, it was just odd, and I didn't like it. Like, why do you need a deep fried cheesecake? Is it not bad enough for you? So to clarify what I said earlier in the video, for those of you that hadn't seen previous videos, he moved in from Sweden like a month or so ago. Hence the whole, like, this is a new experience and all that. Now, obviously America is going to be very different than a lot of other places, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff I'm saying really only applies to Portland rather than the rest of America. Because not to a certain degree that you have, but a lot of people that'll visit here from, say, I don't know, Texas, are going to have somewhat of a similar experience of it just being a little foreign, just because even that far is different. Obviously not, like I said, not to the degree of moving here from Sweden, but... And now that you've had more time here, I have to ask this again. What's the weirdest things about adjusting to here?
Everything costs. That's probably the biggest thing. You don't expect things to cost, and they do. So that's probably the weirdest.
To talk more about that, he means stuff like doing anything at a bank. There's a million fees and shit on everything, which doesn't really exist in Europe. It's like everything is trying to get money from you. Yep. Everything. And that's how America is, and it sucks, but that's why you just don't spend money.
Yeah.
One of the other things that you, and I've heard this from other people that have moved here from, not moved here, but at least visited from Europe, is just how everyone's cars here are quote unquote big. But see, when I was in England, my response was, these cars are tiny and shitty. Everyone drives shitty cars in England.
Seeing all these huge cars, being Swedish, it just looks like they're overcompensating for something. Every single one of them.
Meanwhile, here we're just like, nah, these are just nicer cars. Although the one thing I have said is that if you own a truck with a truck bed, try to hide it, because anyone that needs to move is going to ask for your help. And then there's the other thing, and this is a Portland specific thing, but as I said, we kind of have a really big homeless problem here. Now, like I told you before, but I don't know, your response before was, I guess, whatever, but like, I don't think you really took it that seriously.
It's a bit different now. Back in Birmingham, we did have a brown problem, but like they all had sleeping bags and all of that. They weren't really a problem. Here they build fucking towns on the sidewalk. It's pretty weird.
It only happens because Portland makes it easier to live while homeless rather than dealing with the problem. And it's become kind of a really big issue, as I'm sure you've seen.
Yep.
I mean, we just had the Springwater corridor get cleaned up, and it's a mess. And it's because the city doesn't seem to deal with any of them on the east side. It's like they try to quarantine all the homeless into Lent's neighborhood, which is ironically the neighborhood we live in, which is lovely.